Hello, everyone. It's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. So, with the announcement that DC fast charging is back, it looks like backcountry exploration and camping is um, back on the menu as well. One of the problems with going remotely is you would only be limited to some place that's within half the battery range so that you can come back home. I mean, you'll get a little bit of solar charging while you're out there camping, but you definitely don't want to run out of power in the middle of nowhere where there's no chargers. But now with DC fast charging, you can hit a fast charger and top up before you head out into the backcountry, and you'll be totally fine to make it back to civilization. Anyway, they released this render of the tent, and the design is kind of unfortunately not that much different than the original design, but the render looks amazing. So here's the launch edition. You can see the little ultrasonic sensors on the nose cone. I gotta love the attention to detail in this render. You can see the wrinkles in here, and you can see that the seats are pulled forward to allow for the camping. And I think you can see like a pillow or something back here. That's pretty impressive that they put in there. And you can see like the little Aptera logo right here. And the way it looks like this tent is designed is there's a big open area here, and it has these bungee straps to hold this tight. Now, it looks great in the render, but in real life, this is basically a sunshade slash bug screen. It is not a tent. This thing is not going to survive any kind of rainstorm whatsoever. Oh, by the way, I don't know if this is a real place or if this is a real mountain. If any of you guys know which mountain this is, please let me know in the comments below. This place looks cool. But here's the problem: is rain is going to hit this, and this area, this seam along here, all these edges, when the wind comes up, it will lift this seam up. The rain will flow underneath this, and you'll just get water ingress into the tent area. The water will not go over this flap and down here. I mean, some of it might. The vast majority is going to go under this flap and end up in your tent, and you can have a wet tent, and this area is going to flap around like crazy and lift off this area and let bugs or whatever in, um, no matter what you do with this tent design. Also, looks like there's no storm flaps here. Maybe there is storm flaps, but you're definitely going to get water through that mesh screen. Now, as a camping vehicle, this is going to be amazing because you'll have hopefully vehicle to load. That's something I need to ask them. And like a 12-volt lighter, so you would have lots of power off of this, and you can gain some power while you're out there on this. So you could run like an induction stove and things like that while you're out there. Charge your phones and your GPS device and your headlights, things like that. That's very useful. And this is in the launch video, they gave the exact dimensions of the cargo area. So it's 70 inches from back to here. And then you're going to get at least another foot, so 82 inches, at least 12 more inches if you lean the seats forward and push the seats all the way forward. I think it's going to be, probably 15, 16 inches or more, but minimum of 12 inches, I think. This is 47 inches. But unfortunately, the hump right here for the seat belts pushes in probably another 2 inches on either side. So at the narrowest part, it's probably about 43 inches. It's a little tight. And unfortunately, if you put your head this way, this is where your shoulders are going to end up. If you want to put your head this way, which probably makes more sense if you have a tent, then you have a little bit more shoulder room because your shoulders will sit across here. It will be probably closer to the 57 inches, and you can put your feet across there. If you're going to go without a tent, it's going to be your face is going to be uncomfortably close to this hood. And if you're claustrophobic at all, that is not going to be comfortable. Um, when I laid down in there was definitely plenty of space between my head and the glass here, but I think this is going to be a little bit less room than the glass itself because this intrudes into the cargo area a little bit. If you look at it from this angle, you see how this drops in a little bit. Um, but I think if they wanted to redesign this tent better, there's two ways of doing it. One way is to make this top part like a clear plastic film, and that would allow for some solar charging. I don't know how much less solar charging having a clear plastic film here would do. And the plastic film probably will not be as durable and it won't pack down as slight, but that would be kind of the easiest way. You could keep this basic design, cover this with this area, so it's a continuous surface, so that like there's no little flap here that can pull up in the wind, and it'll be like clear plastic, and then water would, shed off of that thing. Option number two is to make this all fabric. That would definitely work, but then you wouldn't get solar charging off the rear deck, which would kind of suck. Option number three is you could design a tent that attaches to this inner lid here and then wraps around the vehicle. That way, the solar panels are exposed, and then this hood is obviously waterproof, and then it would run this way and it'll run off the tent um, uh, this way. So you would have to figure out some way to attach it to this area. And I don't know how difficult that would be to do. You could get kind of like a elastic or something. Maybe they would had like little holes here that you could hook onto and go and seal around here. That'd be a little difficult, but that would be a little more ingenious and it would result in a tent that's pretty small and easily packable. But this current tent design is just not going to work if you just think about it for about 5 minutes. It would work great as like a beach shade cover to hang out at the beach or a picnic area. It would keep bugs out, and if you just wanted to always be in a place that's not that windy and doesn't rain, yeah, this is going to work out great. But if it gets windy and it rains, and that's when you want this thing, this is not gonna work out well for you. Like I can just imagine you falling asleep in here in the middle of the night. It starts raining and you end up like soaking wet. Um, that'll just make for a really bad camping trip. All right, there was a company called Habitants that made a tent for Prius that was pretty good. Unfortunately, it looks like they ran out of business. They went out of business. And then I was looking for some mattresses that we could put in here, and this is the mattress that I found. I think is the best mattress. Is this one. It's a self-inflating mattress. It's 4.5 inches thick. I'll put a link to this below. I think because it's self-inflating, these sides, it'll conform to the indentations of the Aptera. And this 52 inches wide, which is wider than the Aptera, but as it self-inflates, it'll just stop when it gets to the sides. And it's 80 inches long. That'll fit no problem. And then there's a tent that kind of looks like this. That's for SUVs. I think this could be modified to work with the Aptera, but of course, using this, you would not get solar charging, so that would not be ideal. Um, but this definitely would keep you dry, whereas this thing is definitely not going to keep you dry. All right, so I'm not too worried about this. If Aptera sells this as their tent, I will not be buying it because this is essentially a sunshade, and I'll probably just make my own. You can sew your own tent. You could get this tent and then sew a flap or a plastic film across this thing, and that would work. But their tent is pretty expensive. I think it was like what, $600? Definitely not worth $600. You could definitely make this for less than that. And it would need to be redesigned. So hopefully they just give out the specs and some tent company will make us a tent. And I think that'll be great. And that's something that Chris Anthony mentioned is that they would love to open up the ecosystem of accessories for the Aptera, and they will be very generous with the specs and the measurements and the CAD files for the dimensions of the thing so that people can make accessories like tents for it. And I think Aptera should focus on making this amazing vehicle and not get sidetracked with designing tents because this looks great in renders, but in actuality, this is not going to work in an actual rain, wind, storm situation. Okay, well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you guys camping in your Aptera. I will definitely be doing it with or without a tent. I can just, sleep in the hatch. I think if you're going solo, sleeping with your head this into the cabin and your foot out this way with the hatch closed, that's going to work perfectly. That's going to work out great. And that's probably what I'm going to end up doing until someone makes a really good tent for it. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for supporting members, and have a great day.